The office was filled with a strange odor, and I frowned. Today was interview day. I was expecting a man in his 50s, but the moment the door opened, I couldn't believe my eyes. Hello. The person who entered was an elderly man who looked about the same age as my parents. His appearance was shabby, and it was clear at a glance that he was the source of the odor. Suppressing the urge to refuse, I looked through his resume. And then I was shocked. Why? The other employees around me also had expressions of surprise. I had no way of knowing that this decision would dramatically change the company. My name is David Thompson. I'm 33 years old, and I run a small metalworking factory in a corner of this town. This factory has been in my family since my grandfather's time, and it's quite small with just one office worker and 4 workers including myself. The factory has a long history, but recently we've been struggling. After my father retired due to an injury, I took over, but the business was facing tough times due to the expansion of large corporations and the economic downturn. Every day, I work on the shop floor, racking my brain to find a way to keep the company afloat. This factory has been passed down from my grandfather to my father, and now to me. I can't let it go under so easily. But reality is harsh. We can't compete with big companies in terms of technology or cost. And we don't have any special skills or equipment. If things continue like this, eventually. Despite these worries, I stand in the factory every day. The livelihoods of my employees depend on this place. I have to protect this factory at all costs. The employees are all people who have been working with me since I was a child. Even as the economic downturn hits, they haven't abandoned the company and have stood by us. Every time I see their faces, I can't help but feel a deep sense of gratitude and the weight of responsibility. My parents are pressuring me to get married soon, but right now, protecting the factory is my top priority. This factory has been running since my grandfather's time. I can't let it collapse during my generation. With these thoughts in mind and the desire to protect the employees' livelihoods, I fight every day. From early morning until late at night, I work tirelessly without a break. On the shop floor, I handle metalworking while constantly racking my brain for ways to keep the business afloat. I look for new clients, think about cost-cutting measures. Sometimes I stay up late into the night going through the books. But good ideas are hard to come by. We can't compete with big companies in terms of technology or cost, and we don't have any special skills or equipment. At this rate, the future looks bleak. Even so, giving up is not an option. To protect the employees' smiles and keep the factory's sounds echoing in this town, I stand in the factory today, swinging my hammer. I believe that tomorrow will bring something good. I just have to grit my teeth and do my best. One day, a major blow hit my company. Mr. Spencer, who had been working since my father's time, developed a herniated disc. At first, I thought it was temporary, but his condition didn't improve, and eventually, the discussion of his retirement came up. "I'm sorry, boss. My body just won't cooperate anymore." Mr. Spencer apologized to me with his head bowed. Apparently, his family had a say in it too. It's a factory with many dangerous jobs. I can't force him to stay. "I understand, Mr. Spencer. Thank you for your many years of hard work," I replied with a smile, but inside, I was at a loss. Even now, the factory is running with just barely enough staff. Even losing one person was a huge blow. I immediately started recruiting, but there were no applications. Being a small town factory, it probably didn't appeal to young people. With each passing day, my anxiety grew. At this rate, I would have to overwork the remaining employees. Amidst this, we received one application. William Johnson, 58 years old. Desperate, I decided to proceed with the interview. On the day of the interview, I waited in the office with a mix of hope and anxiety. The door opened, and when I saw the man who walked in, I couldn't believe my eyes. William's appearance was far from what one would expect for an interview. His clothes were wrinkled and stained in places. His hair was unkempt, his face covered in stubble, and there was a strong, unpleasant odor. He didn't look like he was in his 50s at all. He looked more like a homeless person. "Hello, my name is William Johnson." His voice was small and lacked confidence. I sighed deeply in my heart. Of course, this isn't going to work. Even so, I decided to at least conduct the interview since he had come all this way. I thought I'd at least hear him out. "All right, Mr. Johnson. Let's start with a self-introduction." After a slight hesitation, William began to speak slowly. "Yes, my name is William Johnson. I am 58 years old. I've worked in various factories over the years." Hearing this, I looked over his resume. I was astonished. The number of qualifications William possessed was incredible. Forklift operator certification, crane operator certification, hazardous materials handling certification, and most surprising of all, he had the highest level metal press processing certification. These were all crucial qualifications for factory work. "Mr. Johnson, do you really have all these certifications?" My voice was slightly excited. William nodded modestly. "Yes, I acquired them little by little over the years." Suddenly, I felt a surge of hope. Why would someone so qualified want to work in our small factory? I still had my doubts, but this wasn't the time to worry about that. "Mr. Johnson, I would like to hire you immediately. Can you start tomorrow?" William looked surprised. The other employees around also had faces of what? Indeed, just by appearance alone, no one would have considered hiring him. But his experience and skills were essential to us right now. "Yes, I can start, but are you sure?" William asked, looking incredulous. "Yes, please." "Can you be here at 8 a.m. tomorrow?" I replied with a smile. William nodded repeatedly, promising to come in the next day. After the interview ended and William left, the employees gathered around me. "Boss, are you really hiring that guy? Is it going to be okay?" Everyone looked worried. Indeed, just judging by his appearance, my decision might seem reckless. "It'll be fine. He has great experience and skills. I'm sure he'll help our company," I answered confidently. I really believed that. I had a feeling that this decision might save our company. I really had that feeling. That night, I was able to sleep peacefully for the first time in a while. Starting tomorrow, we'd welcome a new team member and work hard again from scratch. The next day, William arrived at the factory promptly at 8 a.m. as promised. He looked completely different from the day before, well-dressed and clean-shaven. The unpleasant odor was gone, and I felt a bit relieved. "Good morning, boss. Looking forward to working with you." William greeted me politely. I introduced William to the other employees and began explaining the work. To my surprise, William understood the tasks immediately after hearing the explanations once and got to work. His efficiency amazed both me and the other employees. "He's impressive," I muttered without thinking. William's movements were efficient and waste-free. His years of experience were evident. With each passing day, William earned the trust of those around him. He always spoke respectfully to me, even though I was younger, and showed respect to the other long-serving employees. Most importantly, his proactive attitude was impressive. "Mr. Johnson, how should I handle this?" "William, I have a question." Before I knew it, the other employees began to rely on William. His extensive experience and knowledge brightened the atmosphere of the entire factory. One day, William approached me. "Boss, I'm sorry. I've received a job offer from a contact at my previous company." I was shocked. I never imagined that we would get new jobs through William's connections. "Thank you, William. Please go ahead with it," I responded happily. After that, a few more new jobs came in through William's introductions. Although the workload increased, William took the lead in handling it, which actually improved the overall efficiency of the factory. A few months passed, and I was astonished when I looked at the company's books. Sales were gradually increasing. Since William joined, our performance had definitely improved. It's all thanks to William. I felt a deep sense of gratitude. William's joining had indeed been a turning point that saved the company. I was convinced that things would only get better from here. With hope for the future, I turned off the factory lights. One afternoon, my phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number, but for some reason, my heart raced. I had a feeling that something different was about to happen. "Hello, Thompson Metalworks." The voice on the other end was from a local construction company. I gasped at the content of the call. It was decided that a large-scale tourist facility would be built locally, and they wanted us to manufacture the necessary metal parts for its construction. It was the biggest job we had ever had. What? For us? I couldn't help but ask again. I couldn't believe such a big job was coming to our small factory. I couldn't believe my ears. "Yes, that's right. Recently, your company's products have been highly praised for their quality. We would love to have you on board." At the other end's words, William's face immediately came to mind. Since he joined, the quality of our products had indeed improved significantly. William's skills and experience had paid off in such an unexpected way. My mind was a mix of joy and anxiety. Could we really handle such a big job? But this was an opportunity we couldn't miss. "Thank you. We would be honored to take on the job." After hanging up, I took a deep breath. My heart was still racing. I couldn't tell if this was reality or a dream. I immediately gathered the employees and shared the news. Expressions of surprise and joy spread across everyone's faces. And when I looked at William, I was convinced. We must make this project a success. Everyone, this is a big opportunity. Let's work together to create the best products. Everyone nodded firmly at my words. There was a special spark in William's eyes. The days that followed were truly a battle. We repeatedly discussed the blueprints, created prototypes, and made improvements. Staying late at the factory became common. But no one complained. In fact, everyone was more motivated than ever. The dark atmosphere of the long-standing recession seemed to have lifted all at once. William's work was particularly impressive. He gave precise instructions to the other employees and took the lead in the work himself. His attitude inspired the other employees to work even harder. "Thank you so much, William." One day, as we were leaving after finishing overtime, I couldn't help but say it. William smiled modestly and said, No, we're all working hard together." Finally, the day came when the products were completed. We waited anxiously for the construction company representatives. "This is an excellent job." The representative from the construction company expressed their admiration. At those words, smiles spread across all our faces. "This should keep the projects on schedule. Can we count on your continued support in the future?" Without thinking, I replied loudly, "Yes." A continuing contract. This would stabilize our business for the foreseeable future. That night, I had a drink for the first time in a while. My heart was full of joy and relief. Looking out the window, the city lights shone warmly. All right, this is just the beginning. Using this project as a stepping stone, I resolved to grow the company even more and bring more smiles to this town. With that determination, I raised my glass. Tomorrow, a new challenge would begin again. Since the construction of the tourist facility began, our factory had been bustling with energy. Every day was fulfilling, and there were more smiles on everyone's faces. William's presence was especially significant. Thanks to his skills and experience, we were able to consistently deliver high-quality products. Then, one day, we were preparing to load the products onto the truck for delivery as usual. I was doing the final check and called out to our truck driver, Mr. Smith. "Mr. Smith, we're counting on you today." "Yes, boss." "Leave it to me." Ugh. Suddenly, Mr. Smith clutched his stomach and doubled over. His face was pale, and sweat was dripping down his forehead. "Mr. Smith, are you okay?" I rushed over in a panic. It seemed he was experiencing severe stomach pain. There was no way he could drive in this condition. "I'm sorry, boss. I think I have food poisoning," Mr. Smith said apologetically. I held my head in my hands. Today's delivery couldn't be delayed. The construction site was planning to use these parts today. If we missed the deadline, it would affect the entire project schedule. What should we do? The employees gathered around me. Everyone had confused expressions on their faces. Let's quickly find a replacement driver, veteran employee Mr. Anderson suggested, but that was also difficult. We were a small factory. There were no other employees who could drive a large truck. Even if we tried to outsource, finding a company that could take on such a sudden request would be nearly impossible. Looking at the clock, I saw that we had already missed the scheduled departure time. At this rate, we would definitely miss the delivery deadline. Cold sweat from anxiety and urgency dotted my forehead. At that moment, a calm voice broke the silence. "I'll take it." I turned around to see William standing there. His eyes were serious, with not a hint of hesitation. "What?" "William, can you drive a large truck?" I couldn't hide my surprise. William smiled gently and spoke. "Yes, I have a full CDL license. I used to drive trucks frequently at my previous job." I was stunned by his words. A full CDL license. That meant he was qualified to drive all types of vehicles. I couldn't believe William had such a license. "Really? But do you know the route?" "It's okay. I'm familiar with the delivery location. I've accompanied Mr. Smith there several times." With William's words, my anxiety turned into hope. "Please, William." I thanked him deeply. William nodded quietly and quickly got into the truck. "I'll be back." With those words, the truck slowly started moving. We all watched him leave. With William, "It'll be fine." Mr. Anderson patted me on the shoulder. Yes, I should trust William. He never let us down. Still, as time passed, my worries grew. Would he really make it on time? Would he get lost along the way? Various concerns crossed my mind. Amidst this, my phone rang. It was the delivery destination. I braced myself and answered the call. "Hello, Thompson Metalworks. Mr. Thompson, the products have just arrived safely. Thank you for the timely delivery." I almost shouted with joy. William had delivered it safely. "Thank you as well. I'm just glad it was delivered safely." After hanging up the phone, I took a deep breath. When I reported the news to the employees, cheers erupted throughout the factory. A few hours later, William returned. When he came back safely, I felt a deep sense of relief. Everyone at the factory welcomed him with applause and patted him on the back. "Thank you so much, William. Thanks to you, we were able to maintain our company's reputation." William shyly shook his head. No, I just did what needed to be done." His humble attitude made me even more intrigued by him. I had never asked much about his past before, but today's events made me realize his vast array of skills. "William, can we talk for a bit?" I invited him into the office. Handing him a cup of coffee, I began. "William, you have so many qualifications, from a forklift license to a CDL. But why is someone as talented as you working at a small factory like ours?" William looked down for a moment. Then he slowly started to speak. "My family was poor, so I had to start working right after graduating from middle school. The first factory I worked at was tough but full of kind-hearted people." There was a nostalgic look in William's eyes. "While working there, I gradually acquired various qualifications. When I got married and had kids, I wanted a better life for them, so I switched to a large company." William took a deep breath and continued. "I worked hard there and eventually became a plant manager. But one day, the company's CEO suddenly changed, and the atmosphere in the company changed drastically." I held my breath. William's expression darkened. The treatment of employees with low education levels suddenly worsened. Salaries were cut, and the workload increased. But I endured it for the sake of my kids' education. They were good students, and I wanted to send them to college. There was a slight tremble in William's voice. Then, the company offered me a generous severance package if I opted for early retirement. Thinking about my children's future, I felt I had no choice. I listened silently. The weight of William's decision struck me deeply. I left most of the severance pay to my family and left home. I thought I could manage on my own. But William gave a wry smile. Having only worked in factories, finding a new job at my age was difficult. Before I knew it, I was living on the streets. I found myself grasping William's hand. "That's when I saw your job posting." I applied out of sheer desperation. William looked at me with a gentle smile. When I joined, this place reminded me a lot of the factory where I first worked. It made me feel nostalgic and motivated me to try hard again. I nodded deeply. Each of William's words resonated with me. "William, it's me who should be grateful." I looked at him with sincere eyes. "Thanks to you, this factory was saved. Your skills, experience, and most importantly, your character have transformed our factory." William looked surprised. "Please continue to help us protect this factory. We desperately need your experience and wisdom." I nodded deeply. I could see tears glistening in William's eyes. "Thank you, boss. I'm the one who's grateful to work here. I will continue to give it my all." William's voice was full of determination. Since that day, our factory became even more lively. With William at the center, we improved our techniques and efficiency, and gradually, our performance began to improve. Above all, the factory began to feel like one big family. We helped each other in times of trouble and shared in each other's joys. It felt like the best qualities of the first factory William worked at had been passed down here. Sometimes, I think about it. Life brings unexpected encounters, and those encounters can significantly change our lives. Meeting William was undoubtedly one such fateful encounter. Challenges will continue to come our way, but with William and our other colleagues, we can overcome any obstacle. Watching William's incredible work, I made a certain decision. I gathered all the factory employees and made a certain announcement. I'd like to appoint William as our new plant manager. What do you all think? As expected, everyone voiced their approval. William's skills and character were well respected by everyone. William looked surprised, but he nodded in response to everyone's expectations. "I will do my best to meet your expectations." Since William became the plant manager, the atmosphere in the factory improved even more. Under his leadership, production efficiency increased and product quality improved. Hearing about our reputation, we started getting more orders from new clients. As we got busier, we hired new employees. Young talent joined us, filling the factory with even more energy. Sometimes, I think back to the factory of my childhood. Just like those days, the sound of laughter fills the air, and everyone works with vitality. Seeing such scenes warms my heart. Meeting William brought a new breeze to this factory. Thinking about continuing to build up this factory and this town together makes me excited about the future. One day, William confided in me. He had sent a letter to his family. "Boss, I told my family about my current situation, about how I'm working in such a great environment." William's eyes were shining with happiness. Later, he received a reply from his family. "My daughter got accepted into college. We're going to have a meal together to celebrate her admission." I felt genuine joy at his words. William's happiness felt like my own. Through this experience, I learned something important. The connections between people can bring about such great success. Meeting William changed this factory in me. I resolved to cherish these connections without becoming complacent. Seeing William happily talk about his family sparked a new feeling in me. Yes, I want to get married too. I want to have a family. The factory is full of life, and the employees are working enthusiastically. My life was moving towards a new stage. Just imagining what the future holds excites me. Meeting William taught me this. Life is always full of new possibilities,